Perek Mishna Aleph. Ba'asora ma'amoras nivra ha'olam. Umat Talmud loymar, va'aloi b'mamar echad yochal hi boros, elo lihi pora min harishoyim shema'avdun es olam shenivra ba'asora ma'amoras. V'litein sachar toiv l'sadikim shemekaimim es olam shenivra ba'asora ma'amoras. The world was created with 10 ma'amoras. Could have been created with 1. But the world was created with 10 ma'amoras. Vayomer Hashem, Hashem declared that this should be created, that should be created, to give sachar tov, to give reward to the tzaddikim who are makaimim es ha'olam. They sustain the world. The world is resting on the tzaddikim. The tzaddikim makaimim es ha'olam. This great world, this intricate world which was created with 10 ma'amoras, the tzaddikim, they are makaimim this world. The world is sustained by these tzaddikim, and to give them the reward for being makaim the world. How is it that the tzaddikim are makaim the world? In what way do the tzaddikim sustain the world? Are they involved in the industry of the world, in production of food in the world, in the manufacturing? Which way are tzaddikim mekayim the world? So one way, as mentioned by the Bar Tanura, is that if the world can only be sustained, the world can only exist if the majority of the world are tzaddikim. If the world is filled with rishus chas v'sholem, the world can't be sustained. If the world is mechs al mechs, it's 50-50. If there are 50 rishoyim, 50% tzaddikim, meaning if the zchus of the tzaddikim do not outweigh the averes of the rishoyim, the world can't continue. So tzaddikim, they are mekayim of the world. They keep the world running, they keep the world going, they sustain the world. They are the reason for the world's existence. Without tzaddikim in the world, there's no purpose for creation of this world, and the Rabbi Shalom will not keep it running. But perhaps there's another pshat as well. We find in Sefer Dvorim several times that the Torah says that if you keep the mitzvahs, there'll be bracha, and if you don't, chas v'sholom, there'll be klola. And haidoisi b'chem es hashamayim v'es ha'aretz, the shamayim and the aretz are witnesses to it. And we say in Kriyashma, twice a day, if you listen, if you listen and you keep the mitzvahs of Hashem, there will be rains, and there will be fruit and produce. The aretz will produce its produce. But if not, chas v'sholom, you'll be driven out of the land. The repetition of this bracha v'klala, this repetition of the haidoisi b'chemes hashemayim v'aretz, that the shemayim and ours pay witness. The mashmos from the Ramchal, the Ramban, and others is that there's 2 connotations, and that's why it's repeated twice. There's one which is char and oynish. One is reward and punishment. If you listen, if you keep the mitzvahs, if you do as you're commanded, you'll be rewarded. There'll be plentiful food and fruit. You'll stay in Eretz Yisrael, you'll be able to live in Eretz Yisrael, and there'll be relative comfort. And if not, chas v'sholem, if you don't keep the mitzvahs, chas v'sholem, there'll be punishments, and there'll be drought, and there'll be famine, chas v'sholem. That's one aspect. That's one realm of the haidoisi, that if you keep the mitzvahs, then there'll be a reward, there'll be schar, and the shamayim and aretz will bring forth produce and will sustain you. But there's another aspect of it as well, and that's why it's repeated twice, which is a dover de memela. It's a poil yoitza. It's a result. If we are tzaddikim, if we live a life as tzaddikim, there is a natural cause and effect, there's a natural result. The result will be that the land will produce fruit, there will be rains, the world will be in harmony. If there are tzaddikim in the world, if Klal Yisrael lives as Avdei Hashem, then the Pol Yotze, the result will be that B'derech HaTeva, the world will be in harmony, and things will be functioning as they were designed to be, and there'll be peace and tranquility in the world. As the Gemara says, when Klal Yisrael came back from the Golus, when they were in Golus, and when there were terrible Golus, Bavel, there was all kinds of earthquakes and Zavim, Zavais, they came back and all that subsided. When they came and they were Oila from Bavel, and they had the Geula and they came back to Eretz Yisrael during the course of time, as they settled in Eretz Yisrael, after they were able to rebuild the Beis HaMikdash, then there was calm, there was tranquility, and those disruptions, those upheavals in the world subsided. It's a Pol Yotze. V'ayam shemau tishmu. If you listen to the mitzvah, the rains will come as they should. The land will produce as it should. That will be the natural teva, order of things. Because if we act as we should, then the world, creation, acts as it should. Tzaddikim are mekayim es ha'olam. Tzaddikim are mekayim es ha'olam sheniver basar ma'amoras. The world, intricate world, the way it was created, with all the intricacies, it's the tzaddikim that are mekayim, they keep it existing because of their ma'asim tovim, of the zchuyos of the tzaddikim. It keeps the very existence of the world, but it also keeps the proper order of the world, the functioning of the world as it's designed to be. The Asur Mamoras as it's designed to function in its proper order, the tzaddikim are mekayim it. My father had a partner who lived in Poland, and unfortunately he was after World War II, after the Holocaust, he was not Shemer Torah mitzvahs at all. He completely abandoned his faith, completely and totally. And he had no connection whatsoever to it. And he was anti-religion. Rahman al-Islam. Nebuch. That's how he came from that experience. But he used to say, talk about, and he was a very cynical person about everything. But when the Chofetz Chaim was mentioned, you mentioned the name of the Chofetz Chaim, his eyes lit up. Oh, the Chofetz Chaim. He says he remembered that when the Chofetz Chaim used to come to their region, the peasants, the Goyish peasants, used to come out and run out to the Chofetz Chaim, begging the Chofetz Chaim to walk on their fields. To walk on their fields because they were convinced, the Goyish peasants were convinced that if this holy man, and they knew that if the Chofetz Chaim would walk on their fields would be blessed. That their fields would have a blessing, a bracha, that they would have good crops that year. Chofetz Chaim came and walked on the field. They were certain there would be a bracha. Tzaddikim shemekayim es ha'olam shenivra ba'asar ma'amoras.